The moment my husband's car disappeared around the corner, the boy I'd been caring for, the child who hadn't walked in 6 years, who couldn't speak, who drooled into a towel tucked under his chin, leaped from his wheelchair and ran to the kitchen. His hands moved with practiced precision as he twisted the gas valve shut, cutting off the hiss of poison that had been filling our locked house for the past hour. Tyler turned to face me as I lay gasping on the cold marble floor, my vision swimming with black spots. His eyes were sharp, intelligent, and terrifyingly calm. "Don't scream, Grace," he said, his voice clear and steady, a voice I'd never heard before. "And don't pass out yet. Dad just tried to kill us both. We need to talk." But to understand how I ended up here, paralyzed on my kitchen floor, staring at a miracle that felt more like a nightmare, I need to take you back to this morning when I still believed my life was perfect. The California sunrise painted our master bedroom in shades of gold and amber. I stood at the window watching Michael load his leather briefcase into the trunk of his black Mercedes. Even from the second floor, I could see the crisp lines of his charcoal suit, the way his silver hair caught the morning light. 45 years old, and he could still make my heart skip a beat. 3 years. That's how long I'd been Mrs. Michael Hartley. Sometimes it still felt like a dream, the kind where you wake up and have to remind yourself it's real. "Grace?" Michael's voice drifted up from the driveway. He looked up at me, shielding his eyes against the sun, and smiled. That smile. It was the same one he'd given me across the counter of the diner where I used to work, when he'd asked for my number along with his check. I opened the window. "I'm here." "Come down, sweetheart. I want to say goodbye properly." I practically floated down the curved staircase. Our house, God, I still thought of it as his house sometimes, even after 3 years, was the kind of place I used to clean for other people. Vaulted ceilings, marble floors that reflected like still water, art on the walls that cost more than I used to make in a year. Michael met me at the bottom of the stairs, wrapping his arms around my waist. The scent of his cologne, sandalwood and something citrusy, enveloped me. "4 days," he murmured into my hair. "The Seattle project is important, but I'll miss you every minute." "I'll miss you too." I breathed him in, trying to memorize this moment. "Drive safely, okay?" He pulled back, cupping my face in his hands. "Always. Now, listen to me carefully, Grace. I need you to promise you'll stay here while I'm gone." "Of course." "I'm serious." His thumbs stroked my cheekbones, gentle but insistent. "Tyler's condition makes it impossible to take him anywhere, and I can't focus on work if I'm worried about you two being alone out there. You understand, don't you?" I nodded. This was familiar territory. Michael's protectiveness used to make me feel cherished. Lately, though, there was a weight to it I couldn't quite name. "The gate," he continued. "I'm going to lock it from the outside. There were break-ins 2 blocks over last week. The spare key is in my desk drawer, but the mechanism is temperamental. Better not to risk it unless there's an emergency." "Locked?" Something flickered in my chest. Unease, maybe, or the ghost of a question I was afraid to ask. "Just for a few days, sweetheart." He kissed my forehead, long and lingering. "It's for your safety. You know I only want to keep you safe." The words settled over me like a warm blanket. Safe. Yes, that's what Michael did. He kept me safe. We walked to the patio together where Tyler sat in his wheelchair facing the garden. 12 years old, but his body was small, underdeveloped. The accident 6 years ago, the one that killed his mother, had left him like this. Paralyzed from the neck down, the doctor said. Severe brain damage. No hope of recovery. His head lolled to the left, a thin line of drool trailing from the corner of his mouth onto the small towel I'd tucked into his collar an hour ago. His eyes stared at nothing, unfocused and empty. My heart ached looking at him. Every single time. "Take good care of him," Michael said, his voice suddenly thick with emotion. "He's all I have left of her." "Always," I promised, placing my hand on Tyler's shoulder. The boy didn't react. He never did. "I love him like my own." Michael's jaw tightened. For just a second, I saw something flash across his face. Was it pain? Guilt? but then it was gone, replaced by that warm smile. "You're too good for us, Grace Thompson Hartley." He kissed me once more, then walked to his car. I watched him drive to the tall iron gate that separated our property from the street. He got out, threaded a thick chain through the bars, and secured it with a heavy padlock. The metallic click echoed across the lawn. Then he was gone, the Mercedes disappearing around the corner. Silence rushed in to fill the space he'd left behind. I stood there for a moment, feeling the morning sun on my face, and tried to identify the knot forming in my stomach. Separation anxiety, probably. It was normal for a wife to feel lonely when her husband traveled, wasn't it? "Come on, sweetie," I said to Tyler, forcing brightness into my voice. "Let's get you inside before it gets too hot." I released the wheelchair brake and pushed him across the patio. The wheels whispered against the stone, then went silent on the plush carpet as we entered the living room. Cool air from the vents raised goosebumps on my arms. 10 o'clock. The day stretched ahead of me, empty and echoing. I'd given up my job at the diner 6 months after we married. Michael had insisted he made more than enough for both of us, and didn't I want to focus on making our house a home? My friends from before had drifted away too, one by one. Michael never said I couldn't see them, exactly. He just always had a reason why I shouldn't. "Sarah drinks too much, sweetheart. I worry about you being around that." That book club sounds lovely, but isn't Tuesday Tyler's physical therapy day? You know how he needs his routine. Another dinner invitation? "Honey, we just went out last month. Don't you think the neighbors will find it odd if you're always trying to socialize? They might think things aren't good at home." So I'd stopped trying, and now, 3 years in, my entire world had contracted to this house, this man, this boy. I parked Tyler by the window and went to prepare his breakfast. Pureed oatmeal with mashed banana, the only thing he could safely swallow. I'd gotten good at the routine. Feed him slowly, wipe his chin, check his diaper, reposition him in the chair so he wouldn't get pressure sores. Michael had refused to hire a nurse. "I don't want strangers seeing my son like this," he'd said. "It's not dignified. Besides, you're so good with him, Grace, so patient. It's one of the things I love most about you." As I spooned oatmeal into Tyler's slack mouth, I studied his face. Sometimes, just sometimes, I thought I saw something flicker behind those vacant eyes. A spark of awareness, maybe, a person trapped inside. But the doctors had been clear. Severe brain damage. No cognitive function. Tyler was gone, even if his body remained. I'd learned not to imagine things that weren't there. Michael said I had an overactive imagination. "You're always so paranoid, Grace." He'd laugh, pulling me close. "Always thinking you left the stove on or forgot to lock a door. It's sweet, actually. Means you care, but you really need to learn to trust yourself more." After breakfast, I changed Tyler's diaper, a task that had mortified me at first, but now felt routine, and settled him back in the living room. I picked up the book we'd been reading, The Secret Garden, and opened to our bookmarked page. "Chapter 7, I read aloud. Mary noticed that the robin was following her again. My voice filled the silent house. I liked to think Tyler could hear me, somewhere deep inside, that these moments mattered. The clock on the mantel ticked steadily, 10:47 a.m. That's when I first noticed the smell. It was faint at first, so faint I almost missed it, like rotten eggs mixed with the lavender air freshener I'd sprayed earlier. I paused mid-sentence, sniffing the air. "Tyler, did you have an accident?" No response. Of course not. I set the book down and checked his diaper. Clean. I'd just changed him 20 minutes ago. The smell came and went, carried on invisible currents. I walked slowly through the living room, following my nose. It seemed stronger near the kitchen. Our open concept floor plan meant the kitchen, dining area, and living room all flowed together. I examined the stovetop. All 4 burners were off. I checked each knob carefully. Off, 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 off. Probably just the sewer, I muttered to myself. Or maybe something died in the walls. I'll tell Michael when he calls tonight. I returned to the couch and picked up the book again, but 15 minutes later, my head started to pound. It began as a dull throb behind my right eye, then spread across my temples like fingers pressing into my skull. A wave of drowsiness washed over me. Strange, because I'd slept well last night. 8 solid hours. My eyelids felt heavy. The words on the page swam and blurred. I looked over at Tyler. He sat perfectly still in his wheelchair, but something was different. His hands, usually limp on the armrests, were clenched into tight fists. Tyler? His knuckles were white, trembling slightly. A muscle spasm, I told myself. The doctors said spasticity was common with his condition. It didn't mean anything. "Mommy's getting some water," I said, using the name I'd given myself even though I wasn't his real mother. Even though his real mother was dead. "I'm feeling a little dizzy." I stood up and immediately knew something was very wrong. The floor tilted beneath my feet. Black spots danced at the edges of my vision. The smell wasn't faint anymore. It was sharp, acrid, burning the back of my throat. Gas! This was gas. Panic shot through me like electricity. I staggered toward the kitchen, my legs weak, my heart hammering so hard I could feel it in my throat. I had to check the gas line, had to turn it off before what? Before we died? Before the house exploded? My hands shook as I yanked open the cabinet under the sink. The moment the door swung open, I heard it, a soft, sinister hissing. The connector to the gas line hung crooked, barely attached. Gas poured out in an invisible stream, filling the house, stealing the oxygen from my lungs. "Oh, God," I choked out. I reached for the valve, desperate to shut it off, but my arms wouldn't cooperate. My whole body was shutting down. I collapsed to the kitchen floor, my cheek pressing against the cold marble. The edges of my vision went dark. My lungs burned, each breath shallower than the last. Tyler. I had to save Tyler, but I couldn't move, couldn't even turn my head. This was it, I realized with strange clarity. This was how I died, alone on my kitchen floor while my husband was on his way to Seattle, while my stepson sat helpless in the next room. Michael would come home to find us both dead. An accident, a tragedy. Poor Michael, losing another wife. My eyes were closing. The darkness was almost peaceful. Then I heard the squeak of wheelchair tires, not the usual slow roll when I pushed Tyler around the house. This was fast, purposeful. Then footsteps. Not shuffling, dragging steps. Firm, quick, steady footsteps. A shadow fell over me. With the last of my strength, I forced my eyes open a crack. A figure knelt beside the gas line. Small hands, a child's hands, moved swiftly, confidently, twisting the valve shut. The hissing stopped. The figure turned. Tyler looked down at me. Not Tyler slumped and drooling. Not Tyler vacant and empty. Tyler standing. Tyler moving. Tyler with eyes that were sharp and intelligent and fully, terrifyingly aware. His lips moved. The voice that came out was clear, articulate. Nothing like the grunts and wheezes I'd been told were all he could manage. "Hold your breath if you can, Grace," he said calmly. "I need to open the windows. Dad didn't forget anything. He wants us dead today." Then he was moving again, running to the windows, throwing them open one by one. Fresh air rushed in. I lay there on the floor, too shocked to move, too oxygen-deprived to process what I was seeing. Tyler returned with a bottle of water from the refrigerator. He knelt beside me, unscrewing the cap with practiced ease. "Drink," he commanded. "Small sips. Don't chug it or you'll vomit." My hand trembled as I took the bottle. I stared at him, this boy who shouldn't be able to stand, shouldn't be able to talk, shouldn't be able to do anything except exist in that wheelchair. My voice was a raw whisper. "You can walk." "Since about 6 months after the accident," Tyler said matter-of-factly. He stood up, and walked to the stove. He came back holding the gas line connector in his small hand. "But that's not important right now. Focus on this." He held it in front of my face. "See these scratches on the clamp? Fresh. Made within the last few hours. And the rubber safety seal that should be inside? It's missing." I squinted at the metal piece, my brain still foggy, struggling to understand. You mean, your father installed it wrong? Tyler made a sound, not quite a laugh, more like a bitter exhale. Dad never does anything wrong, Grace. He's an architect, a perfectionist. He has a meltdown if a single book on his shelf is out of place. Does it make sense that he'd be sloppy about something involving gas? The implication hit me like ice water. No, I whispered. No, Michael wouldn't. The gas leak, Tyler interrupted, his voice hard. The gate padlocked from the outside, every window locked tight before he left, and he told you to stay inside, didn't he? For safety. I couldn't breathe. This time it had nothing to do with the gas. If I were actually paralyzed like he thinks, Tyler continued, his young face set in grim lines, and you passed out from the gas, all it would take is one spark, the refrigerator's compressor cycling on, a light switch, and this whole house would explode. He stared at me intently. Everyone would think it was a tragic accident, a forgetful housewife who left the stove on. Dad would come home, cry for the cameras, and collect your life insurance. The policy he just upgraded last month. $5 million. No. I shook my head violently, tears streaming down my face. That's impossible. Michael loves me. He's a good man, a good father. He took care of you alone for years before he met me. He didn't take care of me, Tyler cut in, his voice trembling with suppressed rage. He imprisoned me. Tyler took a step back from me, looking down at his own feet, feet that were planted firmly on the marble floor, feet that were supposed to be useless. I was never permanently paralyzed from that accident, he said quietly. My legs were broken, yes, both femurs, but they healed completely within a year after my real mother died. The room spun. I pressed my palms against the floor, trying to anchor myself to something solid. What? What are you saying? I'm saying that when I realized I could move again, when the casts came off and the physical therapist said I was making remarkable progress, I understood something. Tyler's jaw clenched. If I looked healthy, if I looked smart, I would end up just like her. Like who? My mother. His voice cracked. My real mother. Grace, she didn't die in a car accident. She was murdered. The word hung in the air between us like smoke. I tried to speak, but nothing came out. My throat had closed completely. Tyler walked to the window, walked with steady, normal steps, and stared out at the garden. I was 6. We were going to visit my grandmother. Mom was driving. I was in the back seat with my coloring book. He paused. When he spoke again, his voice was distant, reciting facts he'd memorized. Before we left, I saw Dad working under the car. He had tools. He was doing something to the brake line. I didn't think anything of it. I was 6. Dad fixed things all the time. My chest tightened. We got about 10 miles from the house. Mom started going faster. We were on the highway. She pressed the brake pedal to slow down for our exit. Tyler's hands clenched into fists at his sides. Nothing happened. She pressed harder. Still nothing. She started screaming. The brakes aren't working. The brakes aren't working. Oh, God. She tried the emergency brake, tried to downshift, tried everything, but we were going 70 miles an hour and there was a curve ahead. His voice was mechanical now, emotionless. The only way he could get through this. The car went off the road. We hit a tree. The impact was on the driver's side. I covered my mouth with both hands. Mom died on impact. I survived because I was in the back, but both my legs were crushed. I was in the hospital for 3 months. Tyler turned back to face me. The police investigated. They found the brake line had failed. Old car, they said. Mechanical failure. Dad cried at the funeral. Everyone said what a tragedy it was. What bad luck. Tyler, But I knew, he said fiercely. I was 6, but I knew what I'd seen. Dad under that car with his tools. Dad who never forgot anything, who checked and double-checked everything. And I knew if I said anything, if I told anyone, he trailed off. No one would believe a traumatized 6-year-old. I finished softly. Exactly. And even if they did investigate, Dad's smart. He probably wore gloves, probably used tools that couldn't be traced. There'd be no evidence. Tyler's eyes met mine. So I decided the only way to survive was to become invisible, harmless, a disabled child who couldn't possibly threaten anyone. I thought about all the months I'd spent caring for this boy, feeding him, bathing him, changing his diapers, reading to him while he stared at nothing. You've been faking it for 6 years? Not faking, Tyler corrected. Surviving. Do you know how hard it is to lie perfectly still for hours, to drool on command, to never, ever react to anything no matter what? His voice rose slightly. There were times I wanted to scream, times Dad would say horrible things right in front of me because he thought I couldn't hear, couldn't understand. Times I wanted to stand up and run away and never look back. Why didn't you? I whispered. Once you were older, you could have. Run where? Tyler laughed bitterly. I'm homeschooled. Dad made sure of that. Tyler's condition requires special care. I never leave this house. I don't have friends. No teachers who see me every day. No doctors who monitor my progress. Dad fired all the specialists after the first year, said they were too invasive. He spread his hands. I'm a ghost, Grace. If I disappeared, who would even notice? The full horror of it settled over me like a shroud. This child had been a prisoner in his own body, in his own home for 6 years, and I had been part of his cage without even knowing it. I'm so sorry, I choked out. Tyler, I'm so— Don't. His voice was sharp. Don't apologize. You didn't know. And anyway, we don't have time for this. He was right. My brain was still catching up, but one fact penetrated the shock. Michael had tried to kill us, was trying to kill us, and we were still locked in this house. As if reading my thoughts, Tyler glanced at the wall clock. It's 11:43. He's been gone for an hour and 47 minutes. He'll call soon to check on you, to see if you're dead yet. The casual way he said it made me shudder. When he does, Tyler continued, his voice taking on a commanding tone that sounded wrong coming from a 12-year-old. You need to act normal, act dizzy, confused, but alive. If he thinks we're onto him, if he suspects for even a second that his plan failed— He didn't need to finish the sentence. He'll come back, I whispered, and he won't use gas next time. My phone sat on the coffee table where I'd left it. As we both stared at it, as if on cue, it began to ring. The screen lit up. Michael. Mobile. Tyler's entire demeanor changed in an instant. He actually ran, to his wheelchair and threw himself into it. His head lolled to the left, his jaw went slack. A line of drool appeared at the corner of his mouth. In less than 3 seconds, the intelligent, articulate boy had vanished, replaced by the empty shell I'd known for 2 years. Answer it, Tyler hissed through barely moving lips. Don't cry. Don't shake. Be Grace. The Grace he thinks he married. My hand trembled as I reached for the phone. The screen showed Michael's face. A photo from our wedding day, both of us laughing, deliriously happy. Had any of it been real? I pressed the green icon and held the phone to my ear. Hello? My voice came out rough, scratchy from the gas. Grace, sweetheart. Michael's voice was warm, concerned, the voice of a loving husband. I just wanted to check in. How are you and Tyler doing? I looked at Tyler, slumped in his wheelchair, one eye barely open watching me. We're fine, I said. I'm just a little tired. Might take a nap. You sound out of breath. Is everything okay? Think, Grace, think. I just ran from the bathroom. Thought I heard something break in the kitchen. Turned out to be nothing. Maybe the neighbor's cat. Silence on the other end. I could hear Michael breathing. A cat? His tone dropped slightly. But I locked all the windows before I left. How could a cat get in? My heart hammered. One of the latches must have been loose. The window in the kitchen. The wind probably blew it open a bit. Another pause, longer this time. I see, Michael said slowly. Well, you should rest then. And Grace, check the stove, would you? I have a bad feeling. Make sure all the burners are off. You know how forgetful you can be. Gaslighting. Even now, even in this moment, he was setting up his alibi. If the house had exploded, if they'd found my charred body, he would have testified. I called her that morning, warned her to check the stove, but Grace was always so forgetful. I loved her, but she just didn't pay attention sometimes. I'll check, I whispered. Good girl. The warmth was back in his voice. Sickening, saccharine warmth. I love you, Grace. Get some rest. Love you too. The words tasted like poison. The call ended. The phone slipped from my hand onto the couch. My legs gave out and I sank to the floor, pulling my knees to my chest. He's disappointed, Tyler said, his head straightening, wiping the fake drool from his chin. You can hear it in his voice. His plan failed. I couldn't stop shaking. This isn't real. This can't be real. Grace! Stop it! I shouted, surprising myself. Stop talking about your father like he's some kind of monster. Maybe the gas line was just old. Maybe you misunderstood what happened to your mother. People have accidents, Tyler, real accidents. Michael is a good man. He rescued me from... From what? Tyler interrupted coldly. From poverty? From loneliness? He rescued you because you're an orphan with no family who would ask questions if you disappeared. The words hit like a slap. Why do you think he discouraged you from making friends with the neighbors? Tyler pressed on. Why didn't he want you joining that book club? Why did he fire all the housekeepers a month before he married you? He wanted privacy. He wanted us to enjoy our time together. He wanted you isolated. Tyler's voice was relentless. He wanted you completely dependent on him, with no one who would notice if you suddenly died. No? Look at the facts, Grace. Tyler rolled his wheelchair closer. Think about the past 3 years. Really think. And God help me, I did. I thought about how Michael had convinced me to quit my job. You don't need to work anymore, sweetheart. I make plenty for both of us. Stay home. Relax. You deserve it. I thought about how my friends had stopped calling, because I'd canceled on them so many times, because Michael always had a reason why I shouldn't go. I thought about how I'd stopped driving anywhere. The car sat in the garage, unused. Why waste gas when I can take you anywhere you need to go? I thought about how I couldn't remember the last time I'd been alone outside this house. 3 years. 3 years of gentle, insidious isolation. And I'd been grateful for it. I'd thought it was love. Tyler reached into the pocket of his shorts I'd helped him into this morning, never noticing how his legs bore weight, how his muscles worked normally, and pulled out a small object. A smartphone, old model, probably 5 years out of date. Cracked screen. Where did you get that? I asked. It's Dad's old phone. He was going to throw it out 3 months ago, but I grabbed it from the trash. He never noticed. Why would he? I'm just a vegetable in a wheelchair. Tyler's voice was bitter. He didn't know I'd figured out his password. He uses the same one for everything. The date he married my real mom. He's sentimental like that. Tyler swiped through screens. He doesn't know this phone is still logged into his cloud, which means every text message, every email, every photo, it all syncs here too. He turned the screen toward me. I saw a text conversation. The contact name read, V. Anderson, interior designer. But the messages, God, the messages. Victoria, baby, are you sure about today? What if something goes wrong? Michael, trust me, the house will burn by this afternoon. Grace is naive. She won't suspect until it's too late. Victoria, and Tyler? Michael, collateral damage. The idiot can't even tell anyone anyway. Victoria, I still feel bad about the kid. Michael, don't. He's been dead inside since the accident. This is mercy. Besides, we'll have our own baby soon, a healthy one. Victoria, I love you. I can't wait to start our life together. Michael, Paris next week. I've already booked the tickets. Just need to get through this weekend, collect the insurance money, and we're free. Below the texts was a photo, a pregnancy test, 2 pink lines. Victoria, surprise! Baby Hartley coming this December. Our little secret for now? The phone fell from my nerveless fingers. Her name is Victoria Anderson. Tyler said quietly. She's 32, been seeing Dad for about 8 months. She doesn't know about the first murder. She thinks Mom really died in an accident. But she knows about this one. She's in on it. I couldn't speak, couldn't think. The walls of the room seemed to be closing in. Michael had a mistress. Michael was going to kill me for insurance money. Michael was planning to start a new life in Paris with a pregnant woman half his age. And he'd called Tyler, his own son, the idiot. Something inside me cracked. Not broke, cracked. Like ice on a frozen lake, spiderwebbing out from a central point. "Grace?" Tyler's voice sounded far away. "Grace, I know this is a lot, but you need to—" "He called me naive," I whispered. "What?" "In the text, he said I'm naive." I looked up at Tyler and I didn't recognize my own voice. It was cold, flat. "He's been planning this. How long has he been planning this?" Tyler hesitated. "Based on when the insurance policy changed. About 6 weeks. 6 weeks ago, we'd celebrated our 3rd anniversary. Michael had taken me to that expensive restaurant overlooking the ocean. He'd held my hand across the table and told me I was the best thing that ever happened to him, while planning my murder. "Grace, we need to—" My phone rang again. We both froze, staring at it like it was a bomb. This time it wasn't a call, just a text. "Michael. Honey, I tried to check the camera feed to see if you and Tyler are okay, but the screen is dark. Is the power out? Try turning on a lamp so I can see. I want to make sure my boy is all right." "Camera?" I looked at Tyler. "What camera?" Tyler pointed to the corner of the room. Nestled among an elaborate arrangement of silk flowers on top of a tall cabinet, I could just barely see it. A tiny lens, no bigger than a button, gleaming in the light. "He installed it 2 weeks ago," Tyler said. "Told you it was a motion sensor for the new alarm system." "He's watching us," I breathed. "Right now?" "Not right now. He turned off the infrared remotely to make the screen dark. But he's testing us. Seeing if you'll walk in front of it. If you do and you look fine, he'll know the gas didn't work." I stared at the hidden camera, at this evidence of how thoroughly my husband had planned my death. "What do we do?" I asked. Tyler's face hardened. "We give him exactly what he wants to see." "You want me to do what?" I stared at Tyler, certain I'd misheard. "Slap me," he repeated calmly. "Hard enough to leave a mark. Then you need to have a breakdown in front of that camera. Yell at me. Act like you're delirious from the gas poisoning. Tyler, I can't." "You have to." He was already messing up his own hair, pulling his shirt collar askew. "Dad is watching, or he will be in about 30 seconds. If he sees us both calm and collected, he'll know we figured it out, and then he'll come back," I finished quietly. "Not just come back. He'll make sure there are no witnesses this time." Tyler's young face was grave, ancient. "Grace, I've been playing dead for 6 years. I can do this, but I need you to commit. Can you do that?" I looked at my hands that had fed this boy, bathed him, cared for him with tenderness. Now I was supposed to strike him? "Think about those texts," Tyler said, reading my hesitation. "Think about him calling you naive, a fool. Think about him planning to burn us alive and cash the check." The ice inside me spread a little further. "Okay," I whispered. "Okay." Tyler positioned himself in front of the hidden camera, making sure his profile would be clearly visible. He let his jaw go slack, his head loll to one side, back in character. "Do it now," he hissed through barely moving lips. "And make it loud. He needs to hear you losing it." I raised my hand. It trembled in the air. "Do it, Grace. This is survival." I swung. The crack of my palm against Tyler's cheek echoed through the silent house like a gunshot. The impact stung my hand, sent shockwaves up my arm. Tyler's head snapped to the side, and immediately a red handprint bloomed across his pale skin. For a moment, he just sat there. Then his mouth opened and the most heartbreaking wail I'd ever heard tore from his throat. Tears, real or fake, I couldn't tell, streamed down his face. "I'm sorry," he sobbed, his voice high and childlike. I'm sorry, I'm sorry. The sound of it cracked something inside me, but Tyler had told me what to do, and some instinct, some primal drive to survive, took over. Shut up! I screamed, louder than I'd ever screamed in my life. Just shut up, Tyler! I staggered in front of the silk flower arrangement, making sure the camera caught every moment. I clutched my head with both hands, using the real lingering dizziness from the gas. My head is killing me. This smell. I can't breathe. This is your fault. Everything is your fault. I was crying now, too. Real tears, hot and bitter. Tears for the life I thought I had. Tears for the fool I'd been. I threw myself onto the couch, writhing dramatically. Michael! Michael! Help me! Something's wrong! My head! Oh God, my head is going to explode! I let my voice break into incoherent sobs. Tyler continued his performance, whimpering in the wheelchair, his small body shaking. Seconds ticked by. 10, 20, 30. My phone buzzed. I grabbed it with shaking hands, my heart hammering so hard I thought it might burst. Michael. Sweetheart, what's wrong? I can see you on the camera. You're screaming. Are you sick? I read the message once, twice, forcing my brain to work through the fog of adrenaline. Grace. Head hurts so bad, feel dizzy, everything's spinning. Michael. Oh, honey, it sounds like you might have a migraine. Or maybe you're having an allergic reaction to something. Always the excuses. Always the gaslighting. Grace. Don't know, just want to sleep. Michael. Yes, sleep is good. Just rest on the couch, okay? Don't try to do anything. Don't go anywhere. And Grace? Don't be too hard on Tyler. I know he can't help it, but you're scaring him. Grace. Okay. Sorry. Love you. Michael. Love you too, sweetheart. Sweet dreams. Sweet dreams. Like he was tucking me in for the night, not waiting for me to die. I set the phone down carefully and looked at Tyler. He'd gone quiet, but kept his head down, still playing the traumatized, disabled child. After a moment, he gestured with his eyes toward the hallway that led to the back of the house, out of the camera's view. We moved slowly, carefully. I pretended to stagger, still clutching my head. Tyler let me push his wheelchair, both of us maintaining the act until we were safely around the corner in the small corridor that led to the unused maids' quarters. The moment we were out of sight, Tyler hopped out of the wheelchair. We ducked into the tiny bathroom, barely 6 feet square, smelling of must and old soap. Tyler slid the bolt lock. We were safe, for now. I slid down the wall until I was sitting on the grimy tile floor. All the adrenaline drained out of me at once, leaving me hollow and shaking. I'm sorry, I whispered, looking at the red mark on Tyler's cheek. God, Tyler, I'm so sorry I hit you. Don't be. He touched the mark experimentally, wincing. It worked. He bought it. How can you be so calm about all this? Tyler sat down beside me, his back against the bathtub. For the first time since this nightmare began, he looked his age. Just a 12-year-old boy, scared and trying to be brave. I've had 6 years to prepare for this, he said quietly. I always knew it would come eventually. Dad doesn't leave loose ends. What do you mean? I mean I was living on borrowed time. The only reason he kept me alive this long was because getting rid of a disabled child is complicated. It raises questions. But recently, Tyler's jaw clenched. Recently, I heard him on the phone with his lawyer, talking about care facilities, long-term institutions for children with severe disabilities. My stomach dropped. He was going to send you away? Worse. Those places, some of them, the neglect is criminal. Kids die there. Natural causes, they call it. Dad was researching the ones with the worst reputations. Tyler's voice was flat, emotionless. I would have had an accident within 6 months, maybe sooner, and no one would have questioned it. Jesus Christ. So this, today, was actually his way of killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Tyler smiled, but there was no humor in it. Kill you for the insurance money. Kill me to tie up loose ends. Start fresh with Victoria and their new baby. Tyler pulled out the old smartphone again, swiping through screens with practiced efficiency. I've been monitoring his messages for 3 months, he explained. Ever since I figured out the password, that's how I knew something was coming. The texts with Victoria got more urgent, more detailed. He pulled up the message thread again and scrolled up, showing me older exchanges. Michael, I can't keep living this lie. I need to be with you. Victoria, I know, baby, but we have to be smart. If you just divorce her, you'll lose half of everything. Michael, more than half. The prenup isn't as tight as I thought. My lawyer says she could take me for 60%, maybe 70% in this state. Victoria, so what do we do? Michael, there are other options. Options where I keep everything and start clean. Victoria, Michael, what are you saying? Michael, I'm saying accidents happen every day. House fires, gas leaks. Tragic, but these things happen. Victoria, are you serious? Michael, deadly serious. No pun intended. Victoria, I don't know if I can be part of something like that. Michael, you don't have to be part of it. You just have to be patient. Wait for me. Can you do that? Victoria, how much would the insurance pay? I felt sick reading it, watching in real time as a woman talked herself into being an accessory to murder. The messages continued over weeks, Victoria's objections getting weaker, Michael's promises getting grander. Michael, $5 million, plus the house, the cars, my investment portfolio. We could live in Europe, Paris, like you always wanted. Victoria, what about the boy? Michael, what about him? Victoria, won't people wonder, his stepmother and him dying at the same time? Michael, he's severely disabled, Victoria. These things happen. Tragic, but no one will be surprised. Victoria, and you're sure you can pull this off? Michael, baby, trust me, I've done it before. I stared at that last line. Done it before. He's talking about Tyler's mother. Yeah. Tyler's voice was hollow. He basically confessed to her, and she still went along with it. The next few messages showed Victoria warming to the plan, getting excited even, talking about baby names and nursery colors and which arrondissement in Paris they should live in. Then, a week ago, Victoria, I have news. Big news. Victoria, image, pregnancy test with 2 pink lines. Victoria, surprise. Michael, are you serious? We're having a baby? Victoria, due in December. I'm about 8 weeks along. Michael, this is perfect. This is a sign. We're meant to be together. Victoria, so we're really doing this week? Michael, this week. I'll handle everything. You just pack for Paris. Victoria, I love you so much. Michael, love you too. Soon we'll have everything we deserve. I read that last message 3 times. Everything we deserve, like I was just an obstacle, a problem to be solved, not a person, not someone's wife, not someone who had loved him with everything I had. Grace? Tyler's voice pulled me back to the present. You okay? No, I said honestly. No, I'm really not okay. But even as I said it, I felt something shifting inside me. The hurt, the betrayal, the shock, all of it was hardening into something else. Something colder, sharper, anger. Pure, white-hot, clarifying anger. I looked at Tyler, really looked at him. This 12-year-old boy who'd survived 6 years in a prison of his own making, who'd endured his father's casual cruelty because it was the only way to stay alive, who'd saved my life today even though I'd been nothing but another jailer, however kind. Tyler, I said slowly, can this phone record video? Yeah? Why? I stood up, wiping my eyes. When I spoke, my voice was steady, calm, the voice of someone who'd made a decision. Record me. I want evidence of what I'm about to say. Tyler looked confused but did as I asked, opening the camera app and hitting record. I stared into the lens. Somewhere in the back of my mind, I knew I looked terrible. Hair tangled, face blotchy from crying, that bruise forming on my forehead from where I'd hit the floor. But maybe that was good. Maybe that made it more real. My name is Grace Thompson Hartley, I began. Today is Thursday, September 14th. The time is 12:17 p.m. I'm recording this from my home in Riverside, California. I took a breath. My husband, Michael James Hartley, attempted to murder me and his son Tyler this morning. He deliberately loosened the gas line connector in our kitchen before leaving for what he claimed was a business trip to Seattle. He locked all the windows and doors from the outside, trapping us inside with the leaking gas. His plan was for the house to explode or for us to die from the fumes, making it look like an accident. My voice didn't shake. I sounded like a stranger. He did this to collect $5 million in life insurance. He did this so he could start a new life with his mistress, Victoria Anderson, who is pregnant with his child. They planned to move to Paris together. Tyler's eyes were wide, but he kept the camera steady. This is not the first time Michael has killed. 6 years ago, he murdered his first wife, Tyler's mother, by cutting the brake line on her car. The accident was ruled mechanical failure, but Tyler witnessed Michael tampering with the vehicle before they left. I looked directly into the camera. If something happens to me, if I die under mysterious circumstances, if this house burns down, anything, it was not an accident. It was murder. Michael Hartley is a murderer, and this recording is my testimony. I paused, then added, Tyler Hartley is also a witness to everything I've said. Despite his father's claims, Tyler is not brain damaged or paralyzed. He has been pretending for the past 6 years as a survival mechanism. He is a bright, intelligent child who deserves protection from his father. Okay, Tyler said quietly. I'm stopping recording now. He fiddled with the phone for a moment. I'm uploading this to a cloud service Dad doesn't know about, and I'm setting it up with an app I downloaded a while back. It's called a Dead Man's Switch. What does it do? Basically, if we don't cancel the timer every 6 hours, the video automatically gets sent to a list of people, FBI, local police, news stations, everyone. Tyler showed me the interface. A countdown clock, 5:59:47. Beneath it, a list of email addresses he'd carefully compiled. If we're alive and safe, we just reset the timer. But if something happens to us, the truth comes out, I finished. Exactly. It was a good plan, a smart plan, the kind of plan a child shouldn't have to make. I put my hand on Tyler's shoulder. You're pretty amazing, you know that? He shrugged, but I saw a flash of something in his eyes. Pride, maybe. Or just relief that someone finally saw him. So, what now? I asked. Tyler pulled up another app on the phone. Now I check where Dad really is. What do you mean? Dad has location sharing turned on for his phone. He did it a year ago when you were worried about him driving late at night, remember? He said it would make you feel better to be able to see where he was. I did remember. I'd thought it was sweet. He never turned it off, Tyler continued, because why would he? You barely know how to use your phone. You'd never think to check. He opened the app. A map appeared showing a blue dot labeled Michael. My heart stopped. The blue dot wasn't on the highway heading north to Seattle. It was on a local road, and it was moving, fast, coming back toward our neighborhood. No, I whispered. No, that can't be right. Tyler's face had gone pale. He's not going to Seattle. We watched in horror as the blue dot took an exit, made a turn, headed down a road we both recognized. He's coming back, Tyler said, his voice tight with fear. Grace, he figured it out. Something we did, something in the call or the texts or the way you looked on camera. He knows his plan didn't work. The blue dot was getting closer. How long? I asked. Tyler did rapid mental calculations. If he keeps this speed, maybe 35, 40 minutes. 40 minutes until my husband came home to finish what he'd started. We have to run, I said, already moving toward the door. We'll climb the fence in the back, get to the neighbors. Grace, stop. Tyler grabbed my arm. The fence is 10 feet high with barbed wire at the top. You'll never make it over, and the front gate is chained shut. We're trapped. Then we call the police. Right now. We tell them what? Tyler interrupted. That we smell gas but we already fixed it? That we think my dad might want to hurt us based on text messages that could be argued as taken out of context? That a severely disabled child is actually faking it? But the video won't reach anyone for 6 hours unless we manually send it. And if we do that now, if we play our hand, Dad will just claim we're lying. That you're mentally unstable, that I'm confused. Tyler's eyes were fierce. He's a respected architect, Grace. pillar of the community. Who are they going to believe? He was right. God help me. He was right. So what do we do? My voice came out small, frightened. Tyler's jaw set in a hard line. We don't run. We stay, and we fight. Fight? I stared at Tyler like he'd lost his mind. He's a grown man, an adult. We're two people who have the element of surprise. Tyler cut in. Dad thinks I'm helpless and you're naive. That's an advantage. Tyler, this is insane. We need to prepare. He was already moving, wheeling his chair, his prop, his disguise, out of the bathroom. Come on, we don't have much time. I followed him in a daze as he navigated through the house, careful to stay out of sight of that hidden camera. He led me to the media console under the TV in the living room. Help me move this. What? Why? Just do it. Quickly. Together, we pushed the heavy wooden cabinet away from the wall. Behind it, low to the ground, was a ventilation grate. Tyler pried at it with his fingernails until it came loose. Inside the dusty space was a tackle box. Old, battered, covered in fishing stickers. Is that your dad's? I recognized it vaguely. He thought he lost it 2 years ago. Really, I hid it. Tyler pulled the box out and opened it. Inside was not fishing equipment. There was a small hammer, a box cutter, its blade rusty but still sharp, a plastic spray bottle filled with dark red liquid, and, is that a taser? I breathed. Dad kept it in his car, for protection, he said. He got drunk one night about 8 months ago and left his keys on the counter. I took it while he was passed out. Tyler pulled out the taser, checking it. I've been charging it once a month in the outlet behind my bed. He never noticed. He pressed the trigger. A sharp bzzz of blue electricity crackled between the prongs. Battery's full, Tyler said with grim satisfaction. I stared at this arsenal a 12-year-old had assembled in secret. How long have you been planning for this? Since I was 8 and I heard Dad on the phone with someone, laughing about how easy it was to kill Mom. Tyler's voice was matter of fact. I knew eventually he'd try something with me. I didn't know about you until he married you, but... He shrugged. I adapted. He handed me the taser. The device was cold and heavy in my palm. When Dad comes in, he won't expect resistance, Tyler said. He definitely won't expect you to fight back. That's your advantage. I've never used one of these. I don't know if I can... You can. Tyler's eyes met mine. Because it's this or die. Those are the only 2 options he's giving us. The blue dot on the phone was getting closer. 20 minutes away now. We can't fight him in the living room, Tyler continued. The camera's there. He'll check the feed from his car before he comes inside. So, where? Tyler thought for a moment. The pantry, under the stairs. It's a blind spot from the camera angle, and it's cramped. That'll limit his reach advantage. But how do we get him to go there? Tyler's expression turned calculating. We make him think we're hiding. We tip over my wheelchair right in front of the pantry door. Make it look like you dragged me in there when you heard him coming. It was smart. Terrifyingly smart. Tyler, even if this works, even if I manage to tase him, then what? He's still stronger than both of us. He could... We go for the taser first. Disable him. Then we call 911. Tyler was already moving toward the stairs. But we need to set it up now. Move. We worked quickly. Tyler showed me where to position the wheelchair, tipped on its side, one wheel still spinning slowly. It looked violent, desperate. Perfect, Tyler said. Now we hide inside. The pantry was a narrow closet under the staircase, barely 4 feet deep. Shelves lined with canned goods and dry pasta blocked most of the light. Tyler and I squeezed behind the partial wall that separated the pantry from the kitchen, pressing ourselves into the shadows. From here, we had a narrow view of the overturned wheelchair and the front hallway beyond. Tyler checked his phone. 15 minutes. We sat in silence, waiting. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I gripped the taser tighter, my finger resting near the trigger. Grace, Tyler whispered. Yeah? Thank you. For what? For believing me. For not thinking I was crazy. He was quiet for a moment. Most people wouldn't have listened. They would have thought the gas made you hallucinate, or that I was some kind of, I don't know, manipulative kid making things up. Tyler, you saved my life. I'm the one who should be thanking you. You've been kind to me. These past 2 years. You didn't have to be. You could have treated me like a burden, but you read to me. You talked to me like I was a person, even when you thought I couldn't understand. His voice cracked slightly. That mattered. It helped. Tears stung my eyes. I'm so sorry you've been alone for so long. I'm not alone now. I reached out in the darkness and found his hand. Small, cold, trembling slightly. I squeezed it. No, I agreed. You're not alone now. 10 minutes. 5. We heard it at the same time, the crunch of tires on gravel, the purr of an expensive engine. Tyler and I froze, barely breathing. The engine cut off. A car door opened and closed. Footsteps on the stone path, but no knock. No calling out. Grace? Tyler? I'm home! Nothing cheerful or concerned in his voice. Just flat. Cold. The front door opened. Footsteps on marble. Slow. Deliberate. Where are my little birds? Michael called out. Come out, wherever you are. Through the crack in the pantry door, I could see his shadow stretching across the floor. He was moving through the living room, searching. The smell is gone. Someone opened the windows. He paused. I heard him tapping on his phone. Camera shows. Interesting. Grace having a breakdown. Tyler crying. But then nothing. You both disappeared into the back hallway. Another pause. Smart girl. Smarter than I gave you credit for. His footsteps came closer. I'm disappointed, Grace. I really am. I thought we had something special. I thought you loved me. Closer. But I suppose it doesn't matter now. You've made this harder than it needed to be, but the end result will be the same. I saw him then, stepping into view. He wasn't wearing his business suit anymore. He'd changed into jeans and a dark jacket, and in his right hand, a tire iron, long, heavy, steel. I'll make it quick, Michael said, his voice almost gentle, almost kind. That's more mercy than you deserve after everything I've done for you. He spotted the overturned wheelchair. A slow smile spread across his handsome face. Playing hide and seek? How precious. He walked toward us, 5 feet away. 4. Tyler squeezed my hand once, then let go. He was ready. 3 feet. Michael kicked the wheelchair aside. It crashed against the wall. Useless thing, he muttered. Should have gotten rid of it years ago. Should have gotten rid of him. 2 feet. He reached for the pantry door. Come on out, Grace. Let's get this over with. The door swung open. Michael's eyes adjusted to the darkness. And that's when he saw us. His expression went from confident to shocked in an instant. What the? Tyler? You're… I didn't let him finish. I lunged forward, the taser in my hand, and pressed it against the side of his neck. I pulled the trigger. The sound filled the small space. Blue electricity arced. Michael's whole body went rigid, convulsing. His eyes rolled back. The tire iron clattered to the floor. He dropped like a puppet with cut strings. For one beautiful, terrible second, I thought it was over. Michael lay on the floor, twitching, his mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. The tire iron had rolled away from his hand, out of reach. Grace, again! Tyler shouted. Tase him again! Make sure he's out! I raised the taser, my hand shaking so badly I could barely aim. But I hesitated, just for a second, just long enough to look at my husband's face. The face I'd kissed goodnight 1,000 times, the face I'd loved, and wonder if I could really do this. That second cost me everything. Michael's hand shot out with terrifying speed and locked around my ankle. His grip was iron, crushing. Even stunned, even convulsing, he was so much stronger than me. You bitch! He gasped, his voice a rasp of pain and fury. He yanked, My feet went out from under me. I fell backward, the taser flying from my hand. My head cracked against the doorframe and stars exploded across my vision. "Run, Tyler!" I screamed. "Run!" But Tyler didn't run. The 12-year-old grabbed the spray bottle from the tackle box, the one filled with that dark red liquid, and aimed it directly at Michael's face. "Let her go!" Tyler shouted. He pumped the trigger. A stream of liquid hit Michael square in the eyes. The effect was instantaneous. Michael released my ankle and clawed at his face, roaring in agony. "My eyes! What the fuck? My eyes!" "That's concentrated capsaicin," Tyler said coldly. "Homemade pepper spray, ghost pepper extract. It's going to burn for a while." Michael rolled on the floor, hands pressed to his face, still screaming. Tyler grabbed my arm. "Move! Now!" We ran. My head throbbed where I'd hit it, and my vision swam, but adrenaline pushed me forward. We sprinted through the kitchen into the main hallway, toward the stairs. Behind us, Michael's screams turned into something worse. Words. Coherent, furious words. "I'll kill you both! I'll fucking kill you! You can't hide from me! This is my house!" We heard him stumbling to his feet, crashing into furniture as he staggered after us, half blind but driven by rage. Tyler and I hit the staircase at full speed. My legs burned. Tyler was faster than me. 6 years of secret exercise had kept him in better shape than I'd realized, but he stayed beside me, pulling me along. We reached the second floor, and I turned toward the guest room, but Tyler yanked me the other direction. "Master bedroom! It has the strongest door!" We burst into the bedroom I'd shared with Michael for 3 years. Tyler slammed the door and threw both locks. I grabbed the heavy vanity table, and together we dragged it in front of the door. "Windows," Tyler gasped. "Check the windows." I ran to the nearest window and my heart sank. Iron bars. Security bars that Michael had installed for our protection 2 years ago. "They're all barred," I said. "We're trapped." Tyler's face went pale. "Fuck!" "Tyler, I know, I shouldn't curse. But Grace, we're screwed." He looked at the door we'd just barricaded. "That'll hold him for maybe 5 minutes if he really wants in." From downstairs came the sound of running water. Michael was washing out his eyes. Then his voice, calmer now but infinitely more terrifying. "Grace, Tyler, I know you're upstairs. There's nowhere to go." Footsteps on the stairs. Slow. Methodical. "Tyler was right about one thing," Michael called out, his voice getting closer. "I did kill his mother, and you know what? It was easier than I thought." Watching the car go off the road, watching the paramedics pull her body out, playing the grieving widower at the funeral. He was at the top of the stairs now. I almost felt bad about it. Almost. But then I realized something. I felt free. No more nagging. No more complaints. Just me and my money and my life. His footsteps stopped outside our door. "I thought you'd be different, Grace. Younger, prettier, more grateful. And you were, for a while. But then you started asking questions. Why can't I get a job? Why can't I see my friends? You were becoming a problem." The door handle rattled. "Plus, Victoria is pregnant. Did you know that? I'm going to be a father again. A real father this time, to a real child. Not this broken thing I got stuck with." I heard Tyler's sharp intake of breath, saw his jaw clench. "So you see," Michael continued conversationally, "this was always going to happen. You were always going to die. I just moved up the timeline a bit." Silence. Then, "I'm going to give you one chance. Open this door. Come down quietly. I promise I'll make it quick. Painless. But if you make me break down this door, if you make me work for it," his voice dropped to something dark and cold, "I'll make you watch while I kill the boy first." Tyler's hand found mine and squeezed hard. I looked around the room desperately. There had to be something, some way out, some weapon. My eyes landed on the painting on the wall, the landscape that hid the wall safe, the safe where Michael kept his grandfather's antique revolver. "Tyler," I whispered, "the safe, behind that painting." Tyler followed my gaze. "What's in it?" "A gun, old revolver, and bullets." "You know the combination?" I nodded. I'd watched Michael open it a dozen times. He'd never bothered to hide it from me. Why would he? I was just naive little Grace. "It's his anniversary with your mom," I said. "August 15th, 0815. Something flickered across Tyler's face at the mention of his mother, but he just nodded. I ran to the painting and pulled it aside. My fingers trembled as I dialed the combination. 0815. Click. The safe swung open. Inside was the revolver, heavy, black metal, ornately engraved. Next to it, a small box of ammunition. I'd never held a gun before. The weight of it shocked me. This was real. This was a tool designed for one purpose: to kill. "Do you know how to use it?" Tyler asked. "No. Do you?" "YouTube," Tyler said. "I'll walk you through it." Outside, we heard Michael moving away from the door, his footsteps receding down the hallway. "Where's he going?" I whispered. Tyler went very still. "Do you smell that?" I sniffed the air. Smoke, faint but unmistakable. And something else. The sharp chemical smell of lighter fluid. "Oh, God," I breathed. "He's setting the house on fire." Tyler ran to the door, pressing his ear against it. "I hear him downstairs. He's splashing something. Lighter fluid, probably, or gasoline. He's going to burn us alive. Not if we shoot him first." Tyler came back to me, taking the gun from my shaking hands. "Okay, watch. This is the cylinder. It holds 6 bullets. We need to load it." His small fingers worked the mechanism, showing me how to swing out the cylinder. Together, we loaded all 6 rounds. Each bullet clicked into place with a finality that made my stomach turn. "Now this is the hammer," Tyler explained. "You pull it back. That's called cocking it. Then you aim and pull the trigger. But Grace, this isn't like the movies. It's going to be loud. It's going to kick back hard, and you have to really mean it. Don't aim unless you're ready to shoot." I took the gun back, feeling its terrible weight. Smoke was starting to seep under the door. Thin wisps at first, then thicker. "He's not even trying to hide it," I said. "He's really going to let us burn." "Of course he is. Fire destroys evidence. Bodies burned beyond recognition. Who's to say we weren't already dead from the gas before the fire started?" Tyler's voice was bitter. "It's brilliant, actually. Dad always did think of everything." The heat was rising. I could feel it through the floorboards. "We have to get out of here," I said. "We have to try." Tyler grabbed the heavy comforter from the bed and ran into the bathroom. I heard water running. He came back with the comforter soaked, water dripping everywhere. "We wrap this around us," he said. "Stay low. The smoke rises. Clean air is near the floor." He started to drape the wet comforter over both of us when I stopped him. "Wait. Tyler, I need you to listen to me." I grabbed his shoulders, making him look at me. "If something happens, if I can't do this, if I freeze up, you run. You get out however you can, and you run. Grace, promise me, you've survived this long. You're smart and strong, and you deserve to live. So promise me." Tyler's eyes were bright with unshed tears. "Only if you promise to pull that trigger. Don't hesitate. Don't think about who he used to be or what you thought you had. Picture his face when he called you naive. Picture him loosening that gas line. And shoot." I nodded. "Okay, okay." We shared the wet comforter, wrapping it around our heads and shoulders. Tyler took one edge, I took the other. "On 3, I said. 1, 2. The door burst open. Not from Michael breaking in. From the heat of the fire below warping the wood, weakening the frame. The vanity we'd pushed against it toppled forward as the door crashed inward. Smoke poured in like a living thing, thick and black and choking. "Go!" Tyler shouted. We plunged into the hallway. The heat was incredible. The expensive runner carpet was on fire, flames racing along its length. The wallpaper blistered and peeled. I could hear wood cracking, glass shattering. Through the smoke, I could barely see the top of the staircase, or what was left of it. Flames engulfed the bottom half, and standing in the living room below, watching the stairs burn, was Michael. His face was red and swollen from the pepper spray. Burns covered his hands. He must have gotten careless with the lighter fluid, but his eyes, even watering and damaged, locked onto us with pure hatred. In his hand was the butcher knife from our kitchen, the expensive German steel one I'd given him for his birthday. "Nowhere to run now," he called up, his voice raw from smoke. "Come down and face me, or burn up there. Your choice." I raised the revolver with both hands, trying to aim through the smoke and my own tears. "Stop!" I shouted. "I have a gun!" Michael looked at the weapon and laughed. Actually laughed. "That old thing? Grace, sweetheart, that trigger pull is at least 10 pounds. Your delicate little hands will cramp before you ever get a shot off." He took a step toward the burning staircase. "Besides, you don't have it in you. You're too soft, too kind. It's what I loved about you. It's also what makes you weak." Was he right? My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the gun. "Don't listen to him," Tyler hissed beside me. "He's trying to get in your head. That's what he does." Michael started up the stairs, stepping carefully around the flames. "Last chance, Grace. Put down the gun. This can still be painless." I aimed at his chest. My finger found the trigger, but I couldn't pull it. Some fundamental parts of me, the part that had loved this man, had promised before God to honor him, couldn't do it. Tyler saw my hesitation. He looked at the burning stairs, at Michael climbing higher, and then at the massive crystal chandelier hanging over the foyer, the same chandelier that had been installed when the house was built, that Michael had once told me weighed over 300 pounds. "Grace," Tyler said urgently. "The chandelier. We can drop it." "What?" "The chain. It's anchored in the ceiling. There's a maintenance closet up here. If we can break the bolt." "That's insane." "So is everything else we've done today." Tyler was already moving, staying low under the smoke. "Cover me. Just point the gun at Dad. Don't let him get closer." I aimed the revolver at Michael, who'd stopped about halfway up the stairs, watching us. "What are you two whispering about up there?" he called. Tyler found the small utility closet and wrenched it open. Inside, barely visible through the smoke, was a thick chain leading up through the ceiling. The chain that held the chandelier. It was secured to a steel anchor bolt with a large nut. Tyler grabbed a decorative brass statue from a nearby console table and started hammering at the nut. Bang! 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 "What the hell?" Michael looked up, his eyes widening as he realized what Tyler was trying to do. "No, stop that!" He started running up the stairs, heedless of the flames licking at his pants. "Tyler, hurry!" I screamed. Bang! 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 The nut was rusted, stubborn, but Tyler kept hammering with everything he had. Michael was almost at the top, 10 feet away. 5. I pointed the gun at him. "Stop or I'll shoot." "No, you won't," Michael snarled. He was right, but he was also wrong, because Tyler was right too. I wasn't the same Grace anymore. The fool Michael had married was gone, burned away by betrayal and terror and rage. I thought about every lie, every manipulation, every time he'd made me question my own mind. "You're right," I said quietly. The old Grace wouldn't shoot. I pulled the trigger. The gunshot was deafening in the enclosed space. The recoil nearly knocked me backward. The bullet went wide, missing Michael but punching a hole through the wall beside him. Michael froze, genuine shock on his face. "But I'm not her anymore," I said, cocking the hammer again with shaking hands. Before Michael could react, there was a sharp crack from the utility closet. The bolt had broken. Tyler dove out of the way as the chain went slack. For a second, everything was suspended, silent. The chandelier seemed to hang in midair, defying gravity. Then it fell. 300 pounds of crystal and steel plummeted straight down. Michael looked up just in time to see death descending. He tried to run, back down the stairs, away from the falling chandelier, but the flames had weakened the wood beneath his feet. The chandelier didn't hit him directly. It crashed into the base of the staircase with a sound like the end of the world. Glass exploded everywhere. The impact sent a shockwave through the entire structure, and the stairs, already burning, already weakened, couldn't take it. The section Michael was standing on collapsed, wood splintered, nails shrieked. Michael's scream cut off abruptly as he plunged into the inferno below, disappearing into a cloud of smoke and debris and flames. Then, silence. Just the roar of the fire and the crackle of burning wood. Tyler and I stood at the edge of what used to be the staircase, looking down at the gaping hole. The way down was completely gone. The chandelier's chain hung uselessly, swaying slightly. Did we? I couldn't finish the sentence. Tyler peered through the smoke. I don't know. I can't see him. We were trapped on the second floor. The fire was spreading fast, consuming everything. The heat was unbearable. The bedroom, I said, pulling Tyler back. We have to get to the bedroom. Close the door. Buy some time. Time for what? Tyler shouted over the roar of flames. Grace, we're going to die up here! He was right. The smoke was getting thicker. My lungs burned. Each breath was harder than the last. We staggered back into the master bedroom. I slammed the door, but smoke seeped in through every crack. The floor was getting hot beneath our feet. Tyler pulled out his phone with shaking hands. I'm sending the video now, manually. If we don't make it, don't say that. Grace, we need to face. Crash! The sound of shattering glass came from the back of the house, from the balcony. Then a voice, loud and authoritative. Police, if anyone's in here, make noise. For a moment, I thought I was hallucinating. Smoke inhalation causing delusions. But Tyler heard it too. His head whipped toward the balcony door. Here! He screamed. We're here! Master bedroom! Heavy footsteps. The bedroom door burst open, not from inside, but from someone kicking it from the balcony side. A figure in full firefighter gear appeared through the smoke, illuminated by the flames below. Behind the mask, I could just make out a face. 2 civilians, second floor master! The firefighter shouted into his radio. I've got them! He grabbed Tyler first, hoisting the small boy over his shoulder. Ma'am, can you walk? I think so. Then move. Now. This whole floor is about to collapse. He led us through the bedroom to the balcony. Cool night air hit my face and I gasped, drawing in deep breaths of clean oxygen. My head spun. The backyard was a sea of flashing lights. Fire trucks, police cars, ambulances. At least a dozen emergency vehicles filled our lawn. A ladder was propped against the balcony. The firefighter helped Tyler onto it first. Climb down, son. Nice and steady. Tyler descended quickly, his movements sure, despite his shaking hands. Your turn, ma'am. I looked back at the burning house. Our bedroom was fully engulfed now. Everything I'd thought was my life was turning to ash. My husband, I said. He was... We'll do a full search once the fire's contained. Right now, I need you to climb. Can you do that? I could. I gripped the ladder's sides and climbed down, my muscles screaming in protest. When my feet hit solid ground, my legs buckled. A paramedic caught me, guiding me toward a waiting ambulance. Tyler was already there, an oxygen mask over his face. They put one on me, too. The cool, clean air was like heaven. Grace! Tyler pulled down his mask. Look. He pointed toward the front of the house. Through the crowd of first responders, through the chaos and smoke, I saw movement. Something was crawling out of the burning front entrance. No, not something. Someone. Michael emerged from the flames like something from a nightmare. His clothes were charred, hanging in tatters. His skin was blistered and blackened. His hair was partially burned away. He dragged one leg behind him, broken or badly injured, but he was alive, and he was looking right at me. Grace! Michael's voice was a rasp, barely human. Grace, you ruined everything. He tried to stand, tried to walk toward me. In his burned hand, he still gripped the knife. The blade was blackened with soot, but still deadly. Freeze! At least 6 police officers drew their weapons, aiming at Michael. Drop the weapon! Drop it now! Michael didn't seem to hear them. His eyes, wild, inhuman, stayed locked on mine. You were supposed to die, he said, each word a labor. You and that little shit. Supposed to burn. My insurance. My future. Victoria. He took another staggering step. Final warning, an officer shouted. Drop the weapon! Michael raised the knife. And Tyler, brave, brilliant Tyler, stepped forward, not hiding behind me, but beside me, standing straight and tall for all the world to see. Michael's eyes widened, really seeing, maybe for the first time, that his son wasn't broken, wasn't damaged, wasn't helpless. Michael choked. You can walk. I can walk, Tyler said clearly. I can run, I can talk, and I can testify. Tyler held up his phone. Connected wirelessly to a speaker on one of the police cars through some app he'd set up, his voice amplified across the entire scene. My name is Tyler Hartley. This man, Michael Hartley, is my father, and he's a murderer. The recording began to play. Michael's own voice, captured on his texts with Victoria, booming across the lawn for everyone to hear. The house will burn by this afternoon. Grace is naive. She won't suspect. I've done it before. Just need to collect the insurance. The crowd went silent. Neighbors who'd gathered behind the police tape gasped. Officers exchanged glances. Michael stood there swaying as his secrets were laid bare for the world to hear. He looked at me one last time, and for just a second, I saw something almost like regret flicker across his ruined face. Clara, he whispered. The wrong name. His first wife's name. Then his eyes rolled back and he collapsed face first into the mud. Police swarmed him immediately, kicking the knife away, handcuffing his blistered wrists. He didn't resist. Barely seemed conscious. Paramedics rushed over with a gurney. Is he going to survive? One officer asked. He'll live, a paramedic confirmed, checking Michael's vitals. Second-degree burns, maybe some third-degree, broken leg, smoke inhalation. But he'll live. Good, I thought with cold clarity. I want him to live. I want him to stand trial. I want him to rot in prison for the rest of his miserable life. Behind us, there was an enormous boom as the main gas line, the source of it all, finally succumbed to the heat. A fireball erupted from the kitchen, shooting 20 feet into the air. Windows shattered. The remaining roof collapsed inward. Tyler and I watched our prison burn to the ground. A police detective approached us, a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and gray hair. I'm Detective Morrison. You're Grace Hartley? I nodded, unable to speak around the lump in my throat. And you're Tyler? Yes, ma'am, Tyler said. I need to get statements from both of you. But first, let's get you checked out by the medics. You've been through hell tonight. She paused. We got your video, Tyler, the one you uploaded to our tip line 43 minutes ago. That's why we're here. The gas leak report, the domestic violence concerns you flagged. We were already on our way when the fire started. Tyler had called them. Before the confrontation, before the fire, he'd already called for help. Set up the dead man's switch to auto-send after a certain time, knowing we might not survive to send it ourselves. This 12-year-old child had saved both our lives. I pulled him into a hug, holding him tight. He hugged back, his small body shaking. It's over, I whispered. Tyler, it's finally over. Is it? He asked against my shoulder. I looked across the lawn. Michael was being loaded into an ambulance, handcuffed to the gurney, police officers flanking him on both sides. He was alive, but his life as he knew it was over. No more expensive house. No more respected architect. No more freedom. Just prison. Yeah, I said. It's over. As they led us to separate ambulances for treatment, as Detective Morrison called for someone to take our statements, as the fire crews worked to save what little was left of the house, I saw something that made my blood run cold. A red sedan parked down the street, half hidden behind a news van. Behind the wheel, a woman in sunglasses. Her hand rested on her pregnant belly. Victoria. She'd come to watch, to see if the plan had worked. Our eyes met across the chaos and carnage. For a long moment, we just stared at each other. Then she started her car and drove away. But I had her texts, her messages, her confession in digital form. Detective Morrison noticed me watching. Ma'am, you okay? That car, I said. The red sedan. That's Victoria Anderson. She was part of this. She helped plan it. Morrison's eyes sharpened. Can you describe her? Better than that. Tyler has screenshots of all their messages, with photos. Morrison pulled out her radio. All units, be on the lookout for a red sedan, license plate. She looked at me. I recited the numbers I'd glimpsed. Amazing what fear does to your memory. Within minutes, 3 patrol cars peeled off in pursuit. Tyler caught my eye and gave me the smallest smile. We'd survived, and we were going to make damn sure everyone involved paid for what they'd done. The hospital smell, antiseptic and artificial air, made me nauseous. Or maybe that was the concussion. The doctor had said I was lucky. Just a mild concussion from hitting my head, some smoke inhalation, minor burns on my hands. Lucky. I sat in the ER bay, a thin curtain separating me from the controlled chaos of the emergency room. Tyler was 2 bays down, getting his own examination. Every few minutes I heard his voice answering doctors' questions in that clear, articulate way that still startled me. Yes, I can move all my extremities. No, I don't have any breathing difficulties. I've been faking the paralysis for 6 years. It's a long story. Detective Morrison sat in the plastic chair beside my bed, her notebook open. She'd been patient, letting the doctors work first, but now it was time for answers. Let's start from the beginning, she said gently. When did you first suspect your husband was trying to kill you? I told her everything. The gas leak, Tyler standing up, the texts with Victoria, Michael coming back, the fire. All of it poured out in a flood of words that I couldn't stop even if I wanted to. Morrison wrote quickly, occasionally asking clarifying questions. When I got to the part about Tyler's mother, about Michael murdering his first wife, she stopped writing and looked up. That accident was 6 years ago. Case was closed as mechanical failure. Tyler saw him tamper with the brake line, I said. He was 6 years old. No one would have believed him. No, Morrison agreed quietly. They probably wouldn't have. She made a note. We'll exhume the body. Re-examine the vehicle if it's still in impound. If there's evidence of foul play, there will be, I said with certainty. Michael doesn't make mistakes, but he's arrogant. He thinks he's smarter than everyone else. That's his real weakness. Morrison's radio crackled. She held up a finger and answered it. Morrison here. Detective, this is Unit 23. We've got the red sedan, stopped her at a checkpoint on Highway 91. Female driver matches the description. Pregnant. Identification says Victoria Louise Anderson. Morrison's eyes met mine. Bring her in. I want her in interview room 1 within the hour. Copy that. Morrison stood up. Ms. Hartley, I need to go process a suspect. An officer will stay with you and Tyler. Don't go anywhere and don't talk to anyone about the case. Especially not the press. They're already gathering outside. What about Michael? He's in the ICU under guard. He's not going anywhere. Morrison paused at the curtain. You did good tonight. You and Tyler both. A lot of people wouldn't have survived what you went through. After she left, I sat alone with my thoughts. We'd survived. We'd actually survived. The reality of it was slowly sinking in. Michael had tried to kill us, and we'd won. We were alive, and he was in custody, and Victoria was caught. A nurse poked her head in. Ms. Hartley? Your stepson is asking for you. Is it okay if we move him to your bay? Yes, please. They wheeled Tyler's bed next to mine. He looked small under the white hospital sheets, an IV in his arm for hydration, oxygen cannula under his nose. But his eyes were bright and alert. Hey, he said. Hey yourself. We sat in silence for a moment. They caught her, I said. Victoria. Police stopped her on the highway. Tyler nodded slowly. Good. She doesn't get to walk away from this. Tyler, what you did tonight, the dead man's switch, calling the police, setting up the recording, when did you plan all of that? I've been preparing for something like this for 2 years, he admitted. Ever since I heard Dad on the phone talking to a lawyer about life insurance policies. I knew he was planning something. I just didn't know what, or when, or who the target would be. He looked at me. Then he married you, and I thought maybe I was wrong. Maybe he really did love you. Maybe he'd changed. But he hadn't. No. And when I saw him upgrade your insurance policy, when I found the texts with Victoria, Tyler's jaw clenched. I knew it was coming soon, so I got ready. You saved my life, I said softly. Multiple times today. You saved mine too, when you pointed that gun at him. Tyler smiled slightly. I've never seen Dad look scared before, but he was scared of you in that moment. I was terrified. Being scared and doing it anyway, that's what bravery is. He reached out and took my hand. Grace, what happens now? To us, I mean, after all this. I squeezed his hand. I don't know, but we'll figure it out together, okay? Okay. 2 hours later, Victoria Anderson was escorted into the hospital by police officers. She was still in her designer clothes, a cream cashmere sweater and dark jeans that probably cost more than I used to make in a month. Her hands were cuffed in front of her, resting on her pregnant belly. They walked her past the ER bays toward wherever they processed suspects. As she passed our curtained area, she glanced over and our eyes met. For a second, I saw fear in her face, then defiance, then, finally, resignation. She looked away first. That's her? Tyler asked, watching through a gap in the curtain. That's her. She looks normal. Evil usually does, I said. Detective Morrison returned 3 hours later. Dawn was breaking outside the hospital windows. I hadn't slept. Neither had Tyler. I thought you'd want to know, Morrison said. Victoria Anderson has been charged with conspiracy to commit murder, attempted murder, and insurance fraud. She's being held without bail due to flight risk. Did she confess? I asked. She tried to claim ignorance at first. Said Michael manipulated her, that she didn't know what he was really planning. Morrison's expression was grim. Then we showed her the text messages. The ones where she suggested using a candle to start the fire, where she talked about cashing the insurance check, where she called Tyler an inconvenient loose end. Tyler flinched at that. Her lawyer shut down the interview after that, Morrison continued. But we have enough. The texts alone are damning. Plus, we found 2 first-class tickets to Paris in her apartment dated for next week. We found searches on her computer about countries without extradition treaties. We found a burner phone with more messages to Michael. She's going to prison, I said. Not a question. A statement. For a long time. Yes. Morrison pulled up a chair. There's something else. We've been granted permission to exhume Michael's first wife. The medical examiner will look for evidence that the accident was staged, and we're pulling the old case files, re-interviewing witnesses. Tyler can testify, I said, about what he saw that day. We'll need him to. But Grace, I have to be honest with you. He was 6 years old at the time. A defense attorney will tear that apart. Childhood memories are unreliable. He was traumatized. He's been coached. It's going to be hard. But we have the texts, Tyler interjected, where Dad told Victoria he'd done this before. That's a confession. Morrison smiled. Smart kid. Yes, that helps tremendously. Between that and whatever forensic evidence we find on the vehicle, if we find any, we might be able to build a case. She stood to leave, then turned back. One more thing. Grace, I know this is difficult, but you're technically still married to Michael. You might want to think about getting a lawyer. For the divorce, for Tyler's custody, for protecting yourself financially. The word divorce sounded surreal. Yesterday morning, I'd been a wife. Now I was, what? A widow to a man who wasn't dead? A survivor? I will, I promised. Thank you, Detective. After Morrison left, Tyler and I sat in the quiet hospital room, listening to the sounds of the building waking up around us. Grace, Tyler said softly, when all this is over, when the trial is done and Dad is in prison, what happens to me? What do you mean? I mean legally, I'm still his son. If he goes to prison, I'll be a ward of the state. They'll put me in foster care or— No, I said firmly. Absolutely not. But you're not my legal guardian. You were just his wife, and now— Tyler, listen to me. I turned to face him fully. I know I'm not your biological mother. I know we've only known each other for 2 years. But you are my family, the only real family I have, and I'm not letting the state take you. You'd want to keep me? His voice was small, uncertain. Even though I'm connected to all this? To him? You're not him. You're nothing like him. I brushed his hair back from his forehead. You're brave and smart and kind. You spent 6 years in hell and came out the other side still able to love, still able to trust. That's incredible, Tyler. Tears spilled down his cheeks. I don't want to lose you too. You won't, I promise. We'll get lawyers. We'll fight for custody, whatever it takes. I pulled him into a hug, careful of his IV lines. You're stuck with me, kid, for better or worse. He laughed through his tears. That's wedding vows. Yeah, I guess it is. The next 2 weeks were a blur of police interviews, lawyer consultations, and media frenzy. The story had gone national. Architect's murder plot foiled by disabled son who faked paralysis for 6 years. That was the headline that stuck. News vans camped outside the hotel where Tyler and I were staying. The house was a burned-out shell, uninhabitable and under investigation. I hired a lawyer. Actually, 3 lawyers. One for the divorce, one for Tyler's custody, and one for the criminal proceedings. They cost a fortune, but Michael's assets were frozen pending trial, and the court granted me access to marital funds for legal representation. Tyler saw a therapist. So did I. Turns out surviving attempted murder does a number on your mental health. Who knew? The investigation into Michael's first wife's death moved forward. They exhumed Clara Hartley's body and performed a new autopsy. The brake line from the accident vehicle had been destroyed years ago, but the police reports from the scene contained photographs. An automotive expert examined them and testified that the pattern of failure was consistent with deliberate tampering rather than mechanical wear. Not definitive, but enough to raise serious questions. Tyler gave his statement to the police, then to the district attorney. He described what he'd seen that day. His father under the car with tools, his mother's panic when the brakes failed, the crash that killed her. The defense is going to challenge this, my criminal lawyer warned. Childhood memories, trauma-induced confusion, all of that. But combined with the texts where Michael admits to killing before, combined with the expert testimony about the brake line, it builds a picture. Will it be enough to convict? I asked. For Clara's murder? Maybe. It'll be tough. But for the attempted murder of you and Tyler, that's rock solid. We have the gas line tampering, the texts planning it, the video testimony you recorded, the fire. He's going away for that, no question. 2 weeks after the fire, I sat in a family court hearing for temporary custody of Tyler. Michael couldn't attend. He was still in the hospital under guard, recovering from his burns. But his lawyer was there, arguing that his client was innocent until proven guilty, that I was an unrelated third party with no legal standing, that Tyler should be placed with Michael's sister in Ohio until the criminal proceedings concluded. I didn't even know Michael had a sister. My lawyer countered with Tyler's testimony, that he'd never met this aunt, that removing him from the only stable home he'd known would be traumatic, that I had been his primary caregiver for 2 years. Tyler testified too in the judge's chambers. When he came out, he looked pale but determined. What did you tell her? I asked. The truth, that you're the only person who ever treated me like I mattered, that you're my family. The judge granted me temporary custody pending the outcome of the criminal trial. It wasn't adoption, not yet, but it meant Tyler could stay with me. It meant he was safe. We cried in the courthouse hallway, holding each other while cameras flashed outside. 3 months after the fire, the district attorney held a press conference. Michael James Hartley has been indicted on 2 counts of first-degree murder, one for Clara Hartley, his first wife, and one for the death that would have occurred had his plot succeeded against Grace Hartley. He faces additional charges of attempted murder of Grace and Tyler Hartley, conspiracy to commit murder, insurance fraud, and arson. His accomplice, Victoria Anderson, has been charged with conspiracy to commit murder and fraud. The DA took questions from reporters. Is it unusual to charge someone with murder when the victim didn't actually die? In this case, the planning was so deliberate, the intent so clear, that we are treating it as though the murder had been completed. The only reason Grace Hartley is alive is because of her stepson's intervention. That doesn't make Michael Hartley any less of a murderer. What about the son? Is it true he pretended to be disabled for 6 years? Tyler Hartley will testify at trial. His story is extraordinary, and yes, we have medical experts who will confirm that his paralysis was a conscious deception, one that likely saved his life. Will Victoria Anderson's baby be born in prison? Ms. Anderson is due in December. Arrangements will be made for the birth, but yes, she will remain in custody. I watched the press conference from our hotel room. Tyler sat beside me on the couch, his legs tucked under him, still getting used to sitting however he wanted, moving however he wanted, after 6 years of forced stillness. "It's really happening," he said. "They're really going to trial." "Yeah. Are you scared? To testify?" I thought about it. A little, but mostly I'm just ready. Ready for it to be over. Ready to move forward. Me too. Tyler leaned against my shoulder. "Grace, after the trial, can we leave California? Start somewhere new where people don't know us, don't know what happened? We can go anywhere you want. Somewhere quiet. With good schools, maybe near the ocean?" I smiled. That sounds perfect. 8 months after the fire, I sat in a courtroom and watched my husband, my ex-husband, the divorce had been finalized 2 months prior, shuffle in wearing an orange jumpsuit and chains. The burns had healed, leaving his face scarred. His right cheek was a landscape of pink and white tissue. He'd lost weight, lost that polished, handsome appearance that had first attracted me. He looked small, diminished. His eyes found mine across the courtroom. I didn't look away, didn't flinch. Let him see what he'd created, a woman who was no longer afraid of him. The trial lasted 3 weeks. The prosecution presented evidence methodically. The gas line connector with fresh tool marks, the text messages between Michael and Victoria plotting my death, the recording I'd made in the bathroom, Tyler's testimony about his mother's murder and his 6 years of deception. The defense tried to paint Michael as a man driven to desperation by gambling debts, a man who'd made terrible choices but wasn't a cold-blooded killer. They suggested Victoria had manipulated him, that the texts were taken out of context, that the gas leak could have been accidental. But the evidence was overwhelming. When I took the stand, Michael's lawyer tried to shake me. "Mrs. Hartley, isn't it true that you married my client specifically for his money? That you saw a wealthy widower and targeted him?" "No. You gave up your job almost immediately after marriage. You lived off his income. Isn't that the definition of a gold digger?" He asked me to quit. He said— I stopped, steadied myself. He said he wanted to take care of me, that I didn't need to work. I thought it was love. I was wrong. "You claim my client tried to murder you for insurance money. But isn't it true that you could have left the house at any time? The doors weren't locked from the inside. The gate was chained shut, the windows were sealed, and I didn't know I was in danger until it was almost too late." Because a 12-year-old child told you a fantastical story about being able to walk? A child who by his own admission has been lying for 6 years, and you believed him? I believed the evidence, the loosened gas line, the texts on Michael's phone, the fact that he came back early from his business trip and tried to kill us both when the gas didn't work. The lawyer switched tactics. "You were found with a gun. You fired it at my client. In self-defense, he was trying to kill us. Or he was trying to rescue you from a fire and you attacked him." I looked directly at the jury. If he was trying to rescue us, why did he set the fire in the first place? Why was he holding a knife? Why did he say, and I quote, "You were supposed to die"? The lawyer had no answer for that. Tyler's testimony was harder to watch. He sat in the witness box looking impossibly young in his button-down shirt and khakis. The defense attorney was aggressive, trying to discredit him. "Tyler, you claim you saw your father tamper with your mother's car 6 years ago, but you were only 6 years old. How can you be sure of what you saw?" "I know what I saw." Tyler's voice was steady. "He had the toolbox open. He was under the car. When we got in the car an hour later, the brakes didn't work." "But you didn't tell anyone. Not the police, not your doctors, not anyone. Why should we believe you now?" "Because I was 6 and scared, and I knew if I told anyone, I'd be next. Or because you were traumatized and confused, and your mind has created false memories to explain a tragic accident." My mind didn't create those text messages where my father confessed to killing before. My mind didn't loosen that gas line. My mind didn't set our house on fire. Tyler looked directly at Michael. He did all of that. And you know it. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. When they returned, the forewoman stood and read the verdict. In the case of the state of California versus Michael James Hartley, on the count of first-degree murder of Clara Hartley, we find the defendant guilty. Michael's face went white. On the count of attempted murder of Grace Thompson Hartley, we find the defendant guilty. On the count of attempted murder of Tyler Hartley, we find the defendant guilty. 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 8 counts total. All guilty. The judge set sentencing for 2 weeks later. When that day came, I was in the courtroom again. Michael James Hartley, the judge intoned, you have been found guilty of murder, attempted murder, conspiracy, fraud, and arson. The evidence shows a pattern of calculated violence against those who trusted you most. You murdered your first wife. You attempted to murder your second wife and your own son. You showed no remorse, no mercy. The judge paused, looking down at Michael with something like disgust. This court sentences you to life in prison without the possibility of parole for the murder of Clara Hartley. An additional 50 years for the attempted murders and related charges to run consecutively. You will spend the rest of your natural life in prison, Mr. Hartley. That is the judgment of this court. The gavel came down. It was over. Victoria's trial was quicker. With the evidence against Michael, her lawyer advised her to take a plea deal. She pleaded guilty to conspiracy and fraud in exchange for a reduced sentence. 25 years, eligible for parole in 15. Her baby, a girl, was born in the prison medical ward. The child was placed with Victoria's sister. Victoria would be 47 when she was eligible for parole. Her daughter would be 15. A stranger. I felt no sympathy. 1 year after the fire, Tyler and I stood on a beach in Oregon, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. Our new house was small, a 2-bedroom cottage 3 blocks from the ocean. Nothing like the mansion in California, but it was ours. Really ours. Tyler had enrolled in public school for the first time in his life. He was thriving, honor roll, on the track team, making friends. His therapist said the socialization was helping him process the trauma. I'd gotten a job at a local elementary school as a teacher's aide. The pay wasn't great, but it was honest work. Work I'd earned. No one here knew our story. We were just Grace and Tyler Thompson, a mother and son starting over. Because the adoption had been finalized 2 months ago. Tyler Michael Thompson. He'd wanted to keep his first name but change his middle and last. Michael became just a bad memory. Hartley was erased entirely. He was mine now. Legally, officially, completely. The golden retriever puppy we'd adopted, Bonnie, was chasing waves, her tail wagging furiously. Tyler ran after her, laughing when she shook water all over his jeans. I watched them play and felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. My phone buzzed. A news alert. Former architect Michael Hartley found dead in prison cell. Apparent suicide. I stared at the headline for a long moment. Michael was dead. I waited for some emotion, grief, relief, satisfaction, something. But there was nothing. Just emptiness. He'd been dead to me long before today. I deleted the notification and looked back at Tyler. He was building a sandcastle with Bonnie's help, which mostly involved the puppy destroying his work. "Tyler!" I called. "Come here for a second." He jogged over, Bonnie bounding beside him. "What's up?" I showed him the news alert. Tyler read it, his expression unreadable. Then he handed back my phone and looked out at the ocean. "Do you feel anything?" I asked gently. He thought about it. No. He stopped being my father a long time ago. He was just a threat. And now, he's not even that. "Are you sure you're okay?" Tyler smiled. A real smile. The kind I saw more and more these days. "Yeah, I am. I have you. I have Bonnie. I have friends at school and a therapist who doesn't think I'm crazy and a bedroom that doesn't have a wheelchair in it." He shrugged. "He doesn't get to take any of that away. Not anymore." I pulled him into a hug. He hugged back. no longer stiff or uncertain, just a 13-year-old kid hugging his mom. "Love you, Mom," he said. My heart swelled. He didn't call me that often, usually just Grace, but every time he did, it felt like a gift. "Love you too, sweetheart." We stood there as the sun sank lower, Bonnie sitting at our feet, the waves rolling in with eternal rhythm. The past was behind us, the future stretched ahead, uncertain but bright. And for the first time in my life, I was exactly where I was supposed to be. 6 months later, the letter arrived on a Tuesday. It was addressed to Grace Thompson in careful handwriting. The return address was a women's correctional facility in California. Victoria. I held the envelope for a long time, debating whether to open it. Tyler came into the kitchen, grabbed an apple from the bowl. "What's that?" "Letter from Victoria." He froze mid-bite. "Are you going to read it?" "I don't know. Do you want me to?" Tyler thought about it, then shook his head. "She doesn't get to ask for forgiveness. She doesn't get closure. She made her choices." He was right. I walked to the trash can and dropped the letter in, unopened. Tyler nodded in approval. "Mom, can Jake come over for dinner tonight? We have a history project due tomorrow." "Sure, I'll make pasta." "You're the best." He kissed my cheek and headed back upstairs to his room. I stood in the kitchen of our little house, listening to Tyler's footsteps overhead, Bonnie snoring in her bed by the window, the distant sound of ocean waves. This was my life now. PTA meetings and carpools and homework help. Grocery shopping and dog walks and movie nights. It was ordinary. It was beautiful. It was everything I'd never known I needed. I opened the back door and stepped into our small garden. Spring flowers were blooming. I'd planted them myself, learning as I went. Tyler wanted to try growing vegetables next. The evening air was cool and clean. Somewhere down the street, children were laughing. I thought about the woman I'd been a year and a half ago. Isolated, manipulated, almost murdered. I thought about how close I'd come to dying without ever really living. And I thought about the boy upstairs, the incredible, brave, brilliant boy who'd saved both our lives, who'd pretended to be broken for 6 years just to survive, who'd had the courage to stand when it mattered most. We'd survived hell together, and we'd built something better on the other side. I smiled, breathing in the salt air, and went back inside to start dinner. The past was done, the future was ours, and we were finally, truly free.